Hi, everybody. Welcome into today's show here on JTV. It is Monday. Thank you to the Insurance Circle Agency and Pataki Orthodontics and Minuteman Sewer and Drain for helping us bring you high school sports here on JTV. I'm David Rice. That's Adam. We had a lot of great high school basketball this week. Wednesday, some good semifinal games and boys district final on Friday. I think my ears are still trying to recover from hearing loss that I got from Hanover
loud.
Friday. Yeah.
I bet it was there.
Especially when it went to double overtime. I have been doing games here. This is my 7th basketball season, and I've never had a game go to double overtime. I've seen a few overtime games, but double overtime. And not only that, but it came down to the end of double. If that last 3 from Lumen didn't go in, we'd be going to triple overtime. And that is one of the loudest gyms, I think, ever. And even the Hanover coach said that after Wednesday's semifinal win. He said that's why they call it the Camden of the Cascades, just of how loud it gets. But we will start here our show today in Division II with the Friday boys basketball district finals at Columbia Central in Brooklyn. Parma Western taking on Chelsea, tied at 44. 20 seconds left. Chelsea, Drew Blanton misses the step-back jumper. Wyatt Matusik gets the putback tip-in over 2 Western defenders at the buzzer to win the district and win the game for Chelsea. 46-44. Western finishes the season 11-13, but their record didn't really indicate how good of a season they had. I mean, they were in a really tough conference, and to be able to get out of that, they had to play Monday, too, in the district. So they played Monday. They got the win Wednesday, 43 points on Wednesday from Maverick Hammond for Western, and then losing at the buzzer Friday. So shout out to Noah being at Columbia Central, and great putback and great rebound by Chelsea, and then to get the buzzer beater. Certainly didn't have a height advantage there. It seems like Western has a player that's 8'5", and Chelsea got the rebound over him and put back in for the win. But great season for Western, great win for Chelsea. That makes them back-to-back district champions 3 years in a row for Coach Andrea Cabana and for Chelsea. So they will play Flint Powers Catholic in the regional semifinal on Tuesday night at Charlotte inside the Dome.
Has she, ever since she took over as coach, has she won every district final since then?
Yes, this is her either 3rd or 4th year at Chelsea. So
she's won it every single year she's been there.
Yep.
On top of winning it with Grass Lake.
On top of her last year at Grass Lake, winning the state championship.
Right.
So
talented coach.
For sure. Definitely will be in the Michigan Hall of Fame when it's all said and done. So it's very rare to not only win a district championship or regional, but win it all at the Breslin. So as soon as you do that, your name gets put in for Hall of Fame consideration without a doubt. So then in Division III, Hanover Horton, Jackson Lumen Christi taking on Hanover Horton. Lumen 69, Hanover 66 in double overtime. They were tied at 50 at the end of regulation. Hanover led by 1, 66-65. 18 seconds left in the double overtime. The freshman, Ashton Callan, Coach Trope said in the post-game interview, which we'll get to in a minute, but he said, he's been coaching over 25 years, and that was one of the biggest shots he's ever seen a kid make. And the freshman, Ashton Callan, hit the dagger three-pointer to make it 68-66 Lumen and ultimately win it 69-66 for the Titans. So Lumen winning another district championship, and they will play Stockbridge, who defeated Springport 56-18 in the district final. You know what's crazy is Springport beat Stockbridge earlier in the year, and then Stockbridge gets them back and beats them by 38 in the district final. So Lumen will take on Stockbridge at Ithaca Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. Lumen wins another district championship, and Coach Josh Trope spoke with us after the game.
I mean, Luke Trobe and Timmy Crowley said it best. We've been here before. Timmy said we're built for this, and we are. You know, we play in a really tough league. We compete at a high level in every sport, and you know what? We never wavered. There was no doubt in those huddles. There was no finger pointing. Everybody just kept saying, "We got this. Let's just keep getting stops." It was where the two freshmen. I mean, Broden Burgess was incredible all night, and Ashton Callan put us on his back in the end. That shot is one of the biggest. I mean, I've been doing this for over 25 years, and that was one of the biggest, most clutch shots I've ever had a kid make. 3 in the face, down 1. I mean, it was unbelievable. You know, just so we had 2 freshmen grow up big time tonight, and that just makes us deeper for the next week. I don't know, I felt like we missed a lot more than we made at the end, but we made enough. You know, that's all that really matters. Ashton made the first one to make it a 3-point game, and but boy, we do have to make more free throws down the stretch next week. I'm looking forward to practice. That's all. We get to practice again. I told the kids after this, I want to be able to keep practicing, and we get to do that. We're going to take tomorrow off. We're going to go back to work this weekend on Sunday and Monday and get ready for Tuesday. I don't care who we're playing. We get to practice, we get to play again, and we survive and advance, right? That's March. And we survived, and now we'll see what happens.
So that was Coach Josh Trope after the game. Congrats to Lumen Christi taking on Stockbridge coming up on Tuesday night. And we'll have him on the show Wednesday, so excited for that. So excited to have him on. We'll also preview the All-Star game, so we'll talk more about that briefly at the end of the show. And in Division 4, the Yellow Jackets of Concord taking on Hillsdale Academy. They win their first boys basketball district championship since 2002. First time ever in my existence watching Concord win a district championship, so that was cool. But first time since 2002, 60-32 over Hillsdale Academy. You were there in their semifinal on Wednesday when they absolutely beat down Will Carleton 71-25.
It was getting ugly.
Yeah. Right away.
Oh, yeah.
Jet Smith led the way, 19 points on Friday for Concord. And the Yellow Jackets in the D4 Regional Semi, they will take on Colon on Tuesday at 5:30 at Mendon High School. So shout out to Concord and Lumen for our last 2 teams left in boys basketball and Western. Great season coming up, just short at the buzzer against Chelsea. So we will have highlights from Lumen on Wednesday's show, and we'll have highlights coming up in a few minutes after the break from both of our Friday games. Also coming up later on the show today, 7 Jackson area wrestlers finished on the podium with state honors at the Wrestling State Finals at Ford Field this weekend. Also, 3 bowlers finished with all state honors, and Jackson College women's team stepped on the podium in the Nationals tournament. Also, Hanover Horton, first ever competitive cheer state championship. They went to Mount Pleasant and finished first place. So, also, it's March. Double order of onions coming up in college basketball the next couple weeks. Already had a lot of onions this weekend, so we will get to that when we come back, and we'll get started. Welcome back here on JTV. Thank you to the Insurance Circle Agency, and thank you to Pataki Orthodontics, a great smile, always in style, with Pataki, Grass Lake, Hillsdale, and Coldwater, PatakiOrtho.com. Mentioned earlier, you saw just a little bit of footage from Western Chelsea Friday in their district final, and Lumen taking on Hanover Horton. So for more of the photos and post-game interviews, you can check out our Facebook and online at jtv.tv. But congrats to Western and Lumen and Hanover and Concord on great seasons. We're not fully done yet, down to 2 teams like I mentioned earlier. But if you missed Western Chelsea and Lumen Hanover from the district finals on Friday, here's a few highlights from JTV Sports. Welcome back here on JTV. I'm David Rice. Thank you to the Insurance Circle Agency. Not only did we have boys basketball district finals on Friday and over the weekend, we also had the wrestling, bowling, and competitive cheers state finals happening on Friday and Saturday. Starting here in wrestling, 7 Jackson area wrestlers finished with state honors. Thank you to Jeff Steers for providing my prep for this and a quick write-up on it. But the wrestlers needed to finish in the top 8 in their respective weight classes to earn a medal and a step on the podium. Napoleon had 3 of the 7 all-state wrestlers. Carson Warner, 165 pounds. Brady Warner, 190. And Dallas Smith, 215, all finished in the top 8 in Division III, with Warner finishing 6th in his weight class. Titan Parker of Western finished 5th at 165 in Division II, finishing the season with 35 wins. And in D4, Mason Thurber of Springport, 3rd overall at 106 pounds with 42 wins as a freshman in wrestling, so a great season for him. And also freshman Austin Hochter from Hanover Horton, 4th at 190 weight class, 41 wins as a freshman. So shout out to all of the wrestlers, and you can check out a few more photos on our website from then as well at jtb.tv. Also in bowling, 3 bowlers finished with all-state honors, 2 in Division III and 1 in Division IV. And in college bowling, the Jackson College women's team finished 3rd in the national tournament this weekend in the NJCAA. So congrats to the Jet bowlers and the high school bowlers wrapping up their season. And in Mount Pleasant at Central Michigan over the weekend, Hanover Horton in the Division IV competitive cheer state finals finished first place, the first ever cheers state championship for Hanover Horton. And the trophy and the cheerleaders were at the basketball game Friday, and they were honored at halftime, so I thought that was cool. So congrats to Hanover and all of our bowlers and our wrestlers. And Saturday was officially March 1st, which means cue the music, cue the onions. It is college basketball time. And we had a crazy day Saturday. Well, first, backtrack a little bit to Thursday night. Went to the Michigan game against Rutgers. We can breathe.
That was an exciting finish, at least you got to watch.
Oh.
That's pretty cool.
Well, Noah, the first thing he said to me Friday before we went out to Hanover, you got your money's worth. I said, yeah. Didn't look like it at first because unranked Rutgers, who isn't even considered a bubble team for the tournament, they're 15-15, came into Chrysler. And Michigan had a pretty good lead in the first part of the first half, really struggled, down by double digits at halftime. Then they rallied to win at the buzzer to essentially keep, if they wouldn't have won, Michigan State would walk away with the number 1 seed for the Big Ten tournament. But Michigan kept their hopes alive. Michigan State had a huge game yesterday against Wisconsin. Michigan and Michigan State both play Illinois, and they both play against each other one more time, the very last regular season game this week at the Breslin. 84-82 Wolverines on Thursday. So now back to Saturday. Number 1 Auburn over Kentucky, number 17. In Kentucky, for the first time in 21 games on the road at Kentucky, the Tigers got the win to stay number 1, 94-78. Number 3, Florida over A&M, number 12, 89-70. Number 4, Houston, 73-64 over Cincinnati, who was unranked. And I watched this live. It was crazy. Half court at the buzzer, 79-76, number 5, Tennessee, over the Crimson Tide.
I told you, Tennessee, man. I told you.
Yeah.
They might do it.
And, I've been riding high on St. John's. But
they're still looking good. I mean, they're still winning.
It did not look good.
No, but they're still
Saturday.
winning.
Oh,
You
they
gotta at
still
least
won.
win.
Seton Hall came into that game 7-21.
Wow,
2-15 in the conference. Horrible season.
I look at Seton Hall and I thought they're always pretty decent. So I kind of looking
Until
at that,
this
I
year.
thought, well, yeah, looking at that, I thought like, well, they got to win over like a good team, but I didn't realize Seton Hall's been that bad. That's crazy.
Yeah, and they were St. John's was only winning by a handful at halftime, but they were down by a couple baskets most of the end of the first half, and then they rallied to win 71-61. So they win for the first time since 1991 outright, the Big East Conference. Also, number 10, Texas Tech, 78-73 at Kansas. Hunter Dickinson got hurt in that game for Kansas. Can't believe he's still playing college basketball. He hasn't even been at Michigan for, 2 years now?
It's been a while.
I know. Also, Vanderbilt, they did it, a huge upset in football this year, and now they pulled off a huge basketball upset. In overtime, in their building, 97-93 over number 14 Missouri. Vanderbilt did it again this year to another SEC team. Number 16 Maryland over unranked Penn State, 68-64 as well. So, and I said there was a double order of onions. I watched a video over the weekend. CBS put out a social media video, a 3-minute compilation of onions, all onion calls.
Oh, just him saying onions? Oh, that's really good.
And there were a lot of great upset games I forgot about in there. The year that Siena beat Ohio State, and that went triple overtime, I think, double overtime. Morehead State, I believe it was Villanova, Adam Morrison, Gonzaga, when they beat UCLA at the buzzer, and Gus Johnson on that game.
Or was
too.
UCLA beat Gonzaga? Because remember, Adam Morrison was crying on the court. Wasn't he Gonzaga?
I think that was another year.
Okay,
that they played
then yeah,
each
I'm
other.
thinking of the one where UCLA was down. UCLA was down by like 20 at one point.
But yeah,
in
they
that
did.
game.
They did beat.
And
come
then they
back
came
and beat
back.
them.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It's crazy to hear the name Adam Morrison all these years later, considering what ended up happening with his NBA career.
And people were saying he was going to be the man. I mean, a lot of people thought that.
Yeah. But that did not happen, obviously, looking back at it now.
That mustache, though.
That's true. That's true. It will never be beaten. Also, coming up on Wednesday, show will have updated bracket predictions. Right now, Michigan State projected number 2 seed, and the winner of Tennessee-Alabama. If Alabama would have beat Tennessee, Auburn wouldn't have gotten the number 1 seed in the SEC tournament. So, because of Alabama losing, thanks to Tennessee, Auburn, number 1 seed in the SEC tournament. But either Tennessee or Alabama, one of those two teams is going to be a number 1 seed in the big tournament.
When does the conference start? When does the conference tournament start? That's got to be soon.
It starts next week.
Okay.
And then Sunday the 16th is selection show.
Gotcha.
So right after the Big Ten championship, which if it all lines up well, it'll be Michigan State number 3 this year for the Big Ten tournament. Either way, both teams are going to be in without a doubt.
Yeah.
But still nice to have a chance at a 2 or 3 seed by winning. So because we know at least 3 of the 4 number 1 seeds are going to be SEC teams.
Right.
And over the weekend, they showed right now 13 of the 18 SEC teams are in the tournament. That's how tough it is.
Yeah, we were talking about that. That people are complaining, but those are the best teams.
Right. And like the only teams that won't be in are like Vanderbilt, who even though they just beat Missouri, but you never know. Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Arkansas with Coach Cal is on the bubble. They just got ran out of their building by South Carolina on Saturday, who's also another unranked team, by about 30. Bad loss for them, and they needed that to keep up in the tournament race. Another blue blood team here really quick that is always in the tournament, is always a contender, but this year they may not even be in. The Tar Heels, North Carolina, They're on the bubble
Yeah,
right
I
now.
heard
They're
about that.
not. They've won their last handful of games in a row, but they got to pretty much win the rest of their way out though to even still be in. So it's crazy to think we might have a March Madness tournament without North Carolina. in it.
NIT.
Yeah. Not unless if they expand the tournament in a few years, and there may not ever be an NIT
Yeah, that's
again.
true.
So, we'll have to ask Coach Trope about that. If he's a fan of because they're talking about expanding it from 68 to 76, and essentially the tournament would be a week longer.
Let's just do 128 teams.
Why not? Right?
Yeah.
Everybody's a winner.
Let's just do 128 teams and just call it just double the size of the current tournament and have one extra round. I mean, it's ridiculous, but it's just like that's what I feel like it's going to go to eventually because at least at that point, nobody's going to complain.
Everybody has to have a chance now.
Well, that's the thing. If every team gets in, then at least nobody can complain. Why did you get into the playoffs? Okay, the 128th ranked team have fun facing Auburn. Like you know what's going to happen. So if that's what they're going to go to, then just
really
freaking
have
do
fun playing any of like the top 30 teams. You know what I mean?
Any of the top 100 teams they're going to lose to. Like I can imagine if I looked at the list of like. Because I know the rankings don't go past that, but if it was like 100, like who 128 would even be, like it would just be like they would just get destroyed. It wouldn't even be a competition.
Jackson College, no, they're not.
They're not
Division
D1.
No,
they're not D1. And the girls is, I think at last I saw the girls team is ranked for Jackson College.
they are. Yeah, they're in the top 15.
Yeah.
And they are in the national tournament. So we'll have an update on Wednesday.
They might even give the 128th D1 team a run for their money. You don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. But that's going to make games even less meaningful and valuable because we've talked about that now for the football playoff. It went from 4 to 12 teams, and now with 12 teams, it's like the Michigan-Ohio State game doesn't matter because at least this year it didn't. Ohio State was still going to get in, lose or win. You know what I mean? And then even if Ohio State was 9th or 10th, if they still lost to Michigan, they probably still would have gotten in because they barely lost to Oregon, even though they still lost. But anyways, our point is that not everybody deserves a chance. That's what I mean. Like,
Right. Well, it's just 64 to me is the good number. Then they had to come by and make it 68. Whatever, that's fine if they want to do the first 4. Even though I feel like the first 4 is just the most like stupid thing. I don't think there's much with
having those games itself. I'm not a fan of. Now there's been a few first 4 games that have been really good.
I don't doubt that they could be good games. I just think it's kind of a dumb concept to be like, all right, we're gonna have 4 extra teams in, or technically I guess 8 if you factor in the loser of each of those games. It's just odd to me. It's just like let's just do 64. 64 is just a lot better.
Right. You already had 60 teams in without the first 4 winners, and then including those as
we
the
don't
64.
We don't need that little like essentially almost like a wild card round. We don't really.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's on a Tuesday, Wednesday night at like 8 and 10:30 p.m. games, anyways. That aren't a lot of people aren't watching.
And it's not that I don't like expanded playoffs because I love what college football has done and I like what baseball has done as well. MLB. With their
even a couple years
playoffs.
ago, the NFL added the 7th wild card team, the 7th team.
And even with that, I'm okay with. It's just this specifically, when it comes to the tournament, we need to just leave it how it is, in my opinion.
Yeah, the tournament already lasts a month.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Right.
Why make it a month and a half? I just don't. They would have to start the college season earlier to be able to, accustomed for it.
Yeah, if we make it an expanded playoff, right now would have to be the start of the tournament, probably. You would have to be very beginning of March would have to be the
and the
point.
Season, those early regular season games or the couple preseason would essentially have to start before Thanksgiving, which football's not even done yet by then. Like football would overlap with basketball by a whole nother month, and people already don't. I don't like having to watch college football playoff and then the night that's not on, watch a meaningless college basketball game like Michigan's playing Cleveland State in their first game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just, and a lot of people don't watch those first 4 games anyway, so it doesn't matter. So.
Cleveland State might be the 128th team. We don't.
That's fair. I think they're in the same conference. They're in the Horizon League with Oakland.
Hey, there you go.
Could Oakland have another upset this year in March
sick.
Madness
That'd be sick.
if they make it?
Yeah.
But in that league, there's only one team that makes it, though, because there's such a small conference.
Oh, okay.
Only the conference winner or maybe second place gets in. So, although they won't have Jack Golke anymore because now he's in the G League.
That's right.
A team actually gave him a chance, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah.
He wasn't that one or two game random March Madness name you hear about and then you never hear again. So
Taco Fall.
yeah, we never heard about him when he
remember
got drafted.
I remember he went to the Celtics, but just didn't. I think if you look at his highlight reel online, like his NBA highlight reel, I'm pretty sure it's a couple clips from preseason games, and that's kind of it. Summer league.
Well,
like
and
that.
then he played for Cleveland.
I don't
and
even
then
remember him being on Cleveland.
Well, Cleveland's G League.
Oh, okay.
Teammates with Amani Bates, who
Hey,
we've watched
yeah,
on JTV
that's right.
before, except
That's right.
Amani Bates is a lot better player. But
Then Taco?
yes.
Yeah, but Taco's got the better name. Amani's got a great name, but Taco's the better name. Taco Fall is just
Right.
might be the best name in basketball history.
Really?
You could argue
Taco Fall?
You could argue God-given name, like actual name. Like I'm not talking about like Magic is the best name in basketball, just because that name is more known than.
But
his first
actual
name.
not
But
nickname.
Yeah, exactly. Like Taco might be the best.
I don't know. That we'd have
It's a
to
great debate.
do some research.
It's a great
on that.
debate. We need to do a bracket of best names. In
People do
sports.
random, brackets. Best soda, best fast food restaurant.
We should do that. We used to do that. We did that before with like fast food or something here. This was like years ago.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't remember.
Yeah, this was like
before my time.
Yeah, this is like 4 or 5 years ago we did this. But
We'll have to do that. We'll have to get everybody's opinions on it.
yeah,
Come up with a bracket for it. Top fast food or sandwich places included,
man.
and then we'll share those results.
okay,
And then maybe we'll fill out a bracket.
yeah,
Who knows?
yeah.
But March Madness just a couple weeks away. So when we come back, Deebo Samuel did get traded from the Niners. He's joining Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels in Washington for a bag of Doritos. That's what the trade was. And some baseball news and some Tiger news. So we'll get to that when we wrap up. We'll be right back. Welcome back here on JTV. Thank you to the Insurance Circle Agency. So quick NFL news here before we go. Some quick headlines. Deebo Samuel Saturday night got traded to the Washington Commanders for a 5th-round pick and a bag of Lay's chips. That's how much his value was. But the Niners wanted to get rid of him. He said he didn't want to be there, and they knew because of the little bit of a downfall he had the past couple years, they weren't going to get anything huge for him.
Yeah.
So it made sense. People were freaking out. A 5th-round pick, or why didn't a team like the Lions trade him? You know what I mean? For a 5th round or a 4th or a 3rd. And it's like, well, the Niners would have just taken a free pick if they would have done that, because right at this second, he's not worth a 2nd, 3rd round pick. So if they would have offered that to the Lions, they would have been like, oh, okay, all right. And it would have been highway robbery.
Yeah, there's so many deals and stuff that to make this happen, there's certain teams that they might not want him to go to and stuff like that. So I'm not surprised that they were able to get him for this price, but we'll see what he does in Washington. I think it's a great fit for him.
He's still a decent receiver, and you pair him with Brian Robinson, Eckler, McLaurin, Zacchaeus, Jaden Daniels, an already great Washington offense and a decent defense.
I'm curious how they'll use him, because San Fran had certain ways that they'd use him. So I'm curious if that kind of changes. But yeah, it's a good pickup for them. Certainly NFC, I'm not happy, but
yeah, especially if one of our two teams end up having to play Washington.
like we did.
And that won't go well again.
Oh, shut up. It will go well. How
Well-
many of our players were not there? We had half of a team against that team. We had half of our team. We didn't have Hutch. There were so many
Well,
people.
you didn't have Hutch for like the whole year, so that's
Okay, starting towards the end of the season. I mean, he was DPOY favorite for a while.
Oh,
in the
I'm not
season.
for sure.
Yeah.
If he wouldn't have got hurt, he would have
Right,
been defensive
but
player of the year.
here's the thing: it's
but-
like you go to the playoffs is a little bit different than just a regular season game against Carolina. Like, of course, you're going to still do well against them, but our team's going to look a
hey,
lot
watch
different
out for Carolina next year. I'm just saying
I'm-
they almost beat Kansas City,
the
and
only team really, other than the Eagles, that gave that team a run for their money in the last year. When you think about it.
who Kansas City?
Yeah, like Carolina's really the only team that gave them a run for their money. All the other games are really not super, super, super close. Because Carolina
They
had a chance
won
to
like
win.
9 one-score games.
Yeah, but I mean, like that Carolina game. If you watch all those other games, that Carolina game came down to like the last play.
Oh, they blocked. No, I give it to me, but they blocked Denver's field goal on the last play.
That's true. I guess I'll say other than Denver as well, because Denver beat them in the one game, and then the
The
other
field
game.
goal doink in to win the division over the Chargers on Sunday
I forgot
night.
about that Chargers game.
Jim Harbaugh, they should have beat Kansas City.
Yeah, I
and won
forgot
the
about that
division.
Chargers game.
And then instead they got screwed into the 6th or 7th seed and got killed in the first round.
I wonder if that field goal would have won it for the Chargers, if it just would have tied.
I
the
think
time.
it
I
would
don't
have
remember.
tied.
Okay.
And they would have split 1-1 in their head-to-head, and then Kansas City wouldn't have rested their starters the last 2 weeks. They would have actually had to compete still.
Yeah, so they
So,
could have altered that.
And then, quick here, baseball news. You had some Tigers news
Oh yeah,
to share?
Parker
More Tigers news?
Unfortunately, Parker Meadows out indefinitely with a nerve issue in his throwing hand, and it's indefinite. So you hate to hear that, especially with how talented he is in the outfield. So that sucks.
And also, not that he was a super great player, but looking back at it now, because Parker Meadows is hurt, Akil Badu, we don't have him for the outfield either.
That's right. That's
So-
right. But at least our outfield is pretty talented, and it's the defense that I'm upset that we're losing right now. But hopefully, in a month or two, he'll be back and he'll be ready to go. But the indefinite thing, I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah, because you never, I mean, we don't know the timetable, obviously. It could be 4 months. He could come back in July.
Yeah.
Or he could come back if they make a playoff run. Like, you never know.
Yeah, sooner the better. But that stinks. And then Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, thinking about bringing back Pete Rose's eligibility for the Hall of Fame after his death. That was just not a couple
After
years
he
ago.
died.
Of course, and this is what I've been telling everybody forever. I've been telling everybody
Right,
that,
I know.
that the second he passes away, they're gonna be like, "Oh, right, yeah, you can be in the Hall of Fame," just because that's like
In his honor.
yeah, it's
like,
just that's a stain on Major League Baseball. But the fact that we're sponsored by FanDuel and ESPN Bet and all these things is just kind of ridiculous that this is still holding him back from being in the Hall of Fame. You could argue he's the greatest hitter of all time in terms of just clean, pure hitting, just getting hits.
Our
the two-
MHSAA high school football and basketball state championships are on a TV channel, FanDuel Sports. This is high school.
Right. Well, and with baseball, it's just odd that it's like you can argue that the best two hitters in baseball history are not in the Hall of Fame, Pete Rose and Barry Bonds. You could argue that they're two of the best, just pure.
And they're going to
hitters.
do the same thing to Barry Bonds. They're going to wait till he dies. I'm
Yeah,
calling
probably.
it now.
Yeah.
And then they're going to put him in.
Which is a shame because
Absolutely.
Here's the thing: the steroids thing is obviously an issue because there's a reason why some of the other guys that did that at the time aren't in there. But the big thing of why players don't get in, and it's true, you can't be an asshole. Oh, I can't say that,
Well, no, but that's a good point.
but you can't. You can't.
well, no, that's not the worst thing you can say on
no,
TV.
I know,
No,
but I censored it anyway, so it's fine. but you can't, and that's what he did to the media. So
Right.
when you're like that to the media, I mean, it's just you're not going to get voted in by those people. If you treat those people poorly, you're not going to get voted in by them. And that's exactly what happened to him. What's happened to Clemens, what happened to Kurt Schilling, all these guys, it's the exact same thing.
This is a hot take here. Speaking of sports media, I know we're technically sports media,
Sure.
but I don't think it would be a different discussion. Maybe to talk about it more in another show for basketball or for football. But when it comes to the Hall of Fame, I don't think media should have any votes in it. I don't.
Think it needs to be like a committee.
I think it's kind of like the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They have a committee. Sure, there are some media votes too, but they have a committee, and I think it should be all former players in that committee and current or in previous owners, GMs, who have seen those guys play. Like, media shouldn't have anything to do with it because they have their favorite players and players that they dislike, and that plays into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think former players that have played a certain amount of years to become eligible to be able to do that, just because there's so many players in baseball history. And then all the current players, and like you said, like coaches, maybe GMs and owners and stuff like that. They need to do something. And who knows, maybe those people do get some sort of representation, but I know it's mostly the media for baseball. They probably need to fix that because you are going to get some biases,
media.
But can you put Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame? A guy that did use performance-enhancing drugs, clearly.
Sure, but he's one of the best baseball players.
Obviously, he has the home run record. He's
still one of the best baseball players of all time. I don't think the media should have any Hall of Fame votes in basketball, football, or baseball, or hockey.
Right.
So,
right.
I don't know how it works in hockey, but
with basketball, I feel like everybody gets in to the Basketball Hall of Fame. I feel like that how much harder it is to get into the Football Hall of Fame and how much harder it is to get into Cooperstown. I feel like it's completely the opposite with basketball. I feel like a lot of people that wouldn't necessarily be first ballot Hall of Famers are getting elected pretty early.
If they played other sports, they wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame in that sport.
Right.
Like, I'm just a random player that popped up in my head who's in the Hall of Fame, who was a great player, but was he a Hall of Famer? Did he win any championships or MVPs? No. Take Yao Ming.
That's so weird. I was going to mention him earlier. I still think Yao Ming was a bucket. He was sick.
Oh, for sure. But he didn't win any championships. He didn't win any MVPs, or obviously finals MVPs. He only went to a couple All-Star games, and the Rockets only had a handful of good seasons when he was in his prime, or when he played there. Why is he in the Hall of Fame?
And
that's a perfect example.
Some of that's probably because what he did for the sport of basketball, coming from China and really expanding the global reach of basketball. That's probably why he's in it, mixed with, pretty much, it's just like the cultural impact, I guess, of him on the sport of basketball.
Now, are there any other couple players here really quick that come to mind for you, like that shouldn't be in the Basketball Hall of Fame, but they are? But because there's so many players that make the Hall of Fame, we knew they were going to get in. But like Yao Ming's the first one that comes to mind for me.
Yeah, like I'm just trying to look at a list of some of the Hall of Famers. Like, he was pretty decent, but like Arvydas Sabonis, he only played in 7 seasons.
Who?
Arvydas Sabonis. He was Sabonis' dad.
That's okay.
Yeah. He averaged 12 a game. 12 a game, 7 rebounds a game, played for 7 seasons. And he's elected to the Hall of Fame. So, like, there's some guys that's just like, did they make an impact on the game? Yes. And I guess, a lot of people have said that, when it comes to Hall of Famers, it's like, can you tell the story of basketball without that person? And it's like, to me, Yao Ming, you can't. But maybe Arvydas, you can. I think you would have to look at a whole list of some of these Hall of Famers to see, but I just think it's
Christian Laettner.
But then if you're talking about Basketball Hall of Fame, he made an impact on the sport. He on the sport as a whole.
Right, but not discrediting how good he was in college. Obviously, he was the best player in college at the time. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been on the 92 Dream Team because they had to
Right,
take
and he
one
was
college player. But he's only in the Hall of Fame, though, because everybody from the Dream Team got into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think if you look at it as like full impact on the game of basketball as a whole, not just the NBA, because it's not the NBA Hall of Fame, right? It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. So if you look at it like
Right.
that, like you can't tell the story of basketball without mentioning him because of the Dream Team, like you said, but then also everything that happened with Duke. You have to look at that.
Right, but I would say in response to that, there's other players, not discrediting how good Christian Laettner was because he was amazing for Duke. That early 90s teams with Coach K. But there were plenty of other great players in college who had that much success, but then did nothing with the NBA.
Right.
Adam Morrison is another one. We just talked about him earlier.
Probably not the cultural impact on the game that Laettner had. But, you know, that's somebody else that you're not gonna probably see him.
But what like
I mean, he was
the
almost,
cultural impact that the 92 Dream Team had is there, obviously. But Christian Laettner just happened to be on the team.
but
He
like,
didn't play in any of those games. What impact did he make to that team? They just
Not
they
to the-
had to take one college player, so they took Christian Laettner.
not to that team, but he was the number one college player for 3-4 years. Like he was the guy in college. So like kind of whether the most talked about guy or the most focused guy like in college, like everybody was focusing their attention on him. And it was a lot of pressure going into the pros and with everything that happened. Still had a pro career. It's not like no offense to Greg Oden, but not like he fizzled out like Greg Oden with injuries and stuff like that. Laettner still played. Still put up some numbers, but it just wasn't the top lottery pick that he was. So I think he's still important to the game of basketball. But like somebody like I saw on this list, which trust me, I think he was a good player, but like Vlade Divac is a Hall of Famer. I think he averaged 11 points and 7 rebounds a game. Not anything crazy, but then like that equivalent in baseball or football would never be touched. You know, a person would never touch the Hall of Fame.
Well, and that's my point, is that there's way too many players, you know, who are even mentioned as it's debatable whether they're in or not. And I think part of that is also because a lot of sports media people, I enjoyed watching that person play, even though overall in their accolades aren't Hall of Fame worthy, but I liked watching them play, so I'm going to give them a vote. That's my whole point. So,
Right.
Coming up on Wednesday's show, the coach of the Lumen Christi Titans, Josh Tropez, will join the show as they head to regional play this week against Stockbridge. And if they're successful Tuesday night, they will play in the regional final on Thursday. Plus, we'll talk to him a preview of the All-Star High School games happening at Spring Arbor coming up in just a few weeks. And also having a shot clock in the state of Michigan. And he used to co-host a podcast with somebody who wants to separate private and public schools still. That we'll talk more about it on Wednesday's show because we're running out of time here, but hashtag club versus community. That coach, now an AD, but former coach, he took the time to tweet out every Division 1, 2, 3, and 4 Catholic school that beat a public school in the districts. He took the time to tweet out all those scores. Flint Powers Catholic beat so-and-so. Lumen Christi beat Hanover. You know, blah, blah, blah. Catholic beat, you know, A, B, and C. Hashtag club versus community. You know, what's he trying to get out of it?
Yeah, that's interesting.
He's mentioned bringing up the idea of what the state of Ohio does. They, even though they might not have as much enrollment or be a bigger school, but because they have a lot of so-called athletic reason transfers of students to that school, those private teams go up a division and play against the big schools. So he thinks we should go the same way as Ohio. So we'll talk to Coach Trope about that. Former co-host with him on that podcast. So we'll talk about that. And we'll have highlights from Lumen Stockbridge happening on Tuesday night. So that's going to do it for us. Thank you to Pataki Orthodontics. Thank you to the Insurance Circle Agency. That's Adam. I'm David. Thanks for watching and listening, and we will talk to you on Hump Day.